The station's main hall was quiet when Ambassador Vrextal arrived. His 4 arms carried data tablets covered in symbols that humans could barely read. His 3 eyes looked at everything with cold interest. Behind him, 12 guards walked in perfect formation. Their armor shined under the lights of Earth Station Alpha. Ambassador Jinho Park waited at the main table. He wore simple gray clothes that humans used for important meetings. Next to him sat Intelligence Officer Min Seo Kim. She looked young, but her eyes were sharp and careful. She watched every movement the aliens made. "Welcome to human space," Jinho said. His voice was calm and professional. "We are happy to discuss peace between our people." Vrextal's mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. "Peace is why we came. The Galactic Coalition wants friendship with humanity." He placed the tablets on the table. "We bring a treaty. Sign it, and both our people will be safe." Minseo picked up one of the tablets. Her fingers moved across the screen, reading fast. The treaty looked good at first. It promised trade routes. It promised protection. It promised a place for humans in the galactic community. "This clause here," she said, pointing at Section 47. "It requires humans to reduce military ships by 90%. Why?" Quote, Vrextal's 3 eyes blinked one after another. "Standard procedure. All coalition members maintain small defense forces. The coalition protects everyone. Large military fleets are not needed." Jinho leaned forward. "But we just arrived in galactic space 50 years ago. Our colonies spread across 12 systems. We need ships to protect our trade routes and people." "The coalition will protect you," Vrextal said. His voice had no emotion. "That is the point of joining. You give up dangerous weapons. We keep everyone safe." Minso and Jinho looked at each other. Something felt wrong. The treaty seemed too demanding. Why would the coalition want humans nearly defenseless? "We need time to review this," Jinho said. "Such an important decision requires careful thought." Vrextal stood up. All 4 of his arms moved in a gesture that seemed annoyed. "You have 3 days. Then we need your answer." He and his guards left the room. Their footsteps echoed in the empty hall. When the doors closed, Minseo immediately activated her security tablet. "I don't trust him. Something about this feels like a trap." "I agree," Jinho said. "Contact Fleet Command. Tell them to watch for unusual activity near our borders." Minseo worked through the night. She connected with intelligence stations across human space. Her team watched coalition ship movements. They listened to encrypted communications. They searched for any sign of danger. At dawn, she burst into Jinho's office. Her face was pale. "We found something. The coalition is moving massive military forces to our border systems. Over 500 warships. They're positioning for simultaneous attacks on all 12 of our colonies." Jinho felt his blood turn cold. "They're planning to attack us? The treaty is a trap," Minseo said. "They want us to destroy our own fleet. Then they'll strike when we're defenseless. Intelligence shows they plan to eliminate human expansion completely." Jinho grabbed his communication device. "Get me Fleet Admiral Sung Jae Lee immediately." 30 minutes later, they stood in the war room deep inside the station. Admiral Lee looked at the star maps showing coalition fleet positions. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes burned with anger now. "They think we're weak," Admiral Lee said quietly. "They think humans are easy to destroy because we're emotional and scattered. Can we fight them?" Jinho asked. 500 coalition warships against our visible fleet of 50 ships? Admiral Lee smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Our visible fleet. Yes. But the coalition doesn't know everything about humans." Minseo looked confused. "What do you mean?" The Admiral walked to a different screen. He entered secret codes that only he knew. The screen showed strange readings from deep space. Dark zones between stars showed unusual energy signatures. "Humans learned something from our history on Earth," Admiral Lee said. We fought terrible wars. We destroyed each other with weapons that could end the world. We learned a hard lesson. Never let your enemy see all your weapons. Never put all your strength where they can count it. What are you saying? Jinho whispered. 60 years ago, when we first built faster-than-light drives, we made a plan. We knew we would meet aliens someday. We didn't know if they would be friendly or dangerous. So, we prepared for the worst. Admiral Lee pressed another button. The screen showed construction sites hidden in asteroid fields, secret shipyards in dead zones where no one traveled, massive structures that had been built in complete darkness. We called it Project Reaper, the Admiral said. While we built visible colonies and trade ships, we also built warships. Real warships. Ships designed only for war. We hid them in places where no sensors could find them. We told no one outside of the highest command. Even most of our government didn't know. Minseo stared at the screen. The structures were enormous. How many ships? 200 battleships. Each one masses more than 10 coalition dreadnoughts. They have weapons and armor that no one in the galaxy has seen before. We built them to fight and to survive. Alarms suddenly screamed across the station. Red lights flashed. A communications officer shouted, "Admiral, Coalition fleet is jumping into our space." Multiple signatures across all 12 colony systems. Admiral Lee walked calmly to the main command station. Around him, officers ran to their positions. Screens showed coalition warships appearing near every human world. 500 ships spreading across human territory like a net. On the main screen, Coalition Commander Zarketh appeared. He was larger than Vrextal, with armor covered in battle marks. Humans, your time is over. The Coalition claims these systems. Surrender or die. Admiral Lee sat in his command chair. He looked at the Coalition commander with no fear. You made a mistake. You thought we were weak. You thought we were unprepared. You planned to murder billions of humans while they slept. Your tiny fleet cannot stop us, Zarketh laughed. We have 10 ships for every one of yours. That's true, Admiral Lee said quietly. 10-1 is bad odds. But you're not fighting 50 ships. He pressed a single button on his chair. You're fighting 250. He leaned forward and spoke one command that would change everything. Wake the Reapers. Across all 12 human systems, in the dark spaces between planets, something responded. Space itself seemed to twist. Energy signatures that looked like empty nothing suddenly became solid. Massive shapes emerged from stealth fields that had hidden them for decades. Zarketh's face on the screen changed from confident to confused. His sensors were screaming warnings. Ships were appearing everywhere. Huge ships. Dark ships. Ships that made his dreadnoughts look small. Near Earth, near Mars, near every human colony, the Reaper fleet came awake. 200 battleships that humanity had built in secret. Ships designed for a single purpose: to protect human life against anyone who threatened it. The trap was not for humans. The trap was for the Coalition. They had come to fight 50 ships. Now they faced 250. And these were not normal warships. These were Reapers. And the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The Coalition attack began exactly as they planned. 500 warships spread across human space like a dark cloud. They moved toward colonies and trade stations with weapons charged. Their commanders expected easy victory. Commander Zarketh watched from his flagship as his ships approached the human colony on Proxima 7. The planet below held 2 million humans. His sensors showed only weak orbital defenses, 3 small defense platforms and 2 escort ships. Nothing that could stop his squadron of 20 warships. Target the orbital platforms first, Zarketh ordered. Then the surface settlements. His weapons officer fired. Bright energy beams crossed space and hit the platforms. They exploded in seconds. The 2 human escort ships tried to fight back. Their weapons were small and weak. Zarketh's ships destroyed them without taking damage. This is too easy, his tactical officer said. Where is their main fleet? Zarketh smiled with his mouth parts. Running away, probably. Humans are cowards. They know they cannot win. Readers. Readers not Lena. Readers not win. Readers not win. Readers not win. On the planet below, human colonists ran to emergency shelters. Alarms screamed warnings. Parents grabbed children. Everyone moved fast but calm. They had practiced this many times. They knew what to do. But in orbit, something strange happened. Zarketh's sensors began showing impossible readings. Something massive was approaching. Something his instruments said could not be real. Commander, we have a contact, his sensor officer said. Her voice shook. It's huge, bigger than our entire squadron combined. Space itself seemed to split open. A shape emerged from darkness that sensors could not see through. It was black, completely black. The hull absorbed all light and scanning beams. Only its outline was visible against the stars. The shape was a ship. The largest ship Zarketh had ever seen. It was 3 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide. The surface was covered in weapons. Hundreds of weapons. Maybe thousands. And it was moving toward his squadron. From Earth Station Alpha, Admiral Lee watched on his command screens. He activated his communication system to broadcast on all frequencies. Everyone would hear this. Coalition, neutral species, and humans everywhere. Attention Coalition forces, Admiral Lee said. His voice was calm and clear. You came here planning genocide. You thought we were weak. You believed humans would be easy to destroy. But you made one mistake. He paused. On screens across the galaxy, people watched and listened. You never asked what humans do when we're afraid. Admiral Lee continued. You never wondered what we build when we know others want us dead. Let me show you. Near Proxima 7, the massive black ship powered all its systems. The hull lit up from inside as the reactor came fully online. Energy readings made Coalition sensors scream. This one ship produced more power than 10 of their dreadnoughts. This is Captain He Jin Choi of the human battleship, Indomitable. A woman's voice came over communications. She sounded young but completely confident. Coalition squadron near Proxima 7. You have one chance. Leave now. Or I will destroy every one of your ships. Zarketh laughed. One ship against 20? You're brave, but stupid, human. Fire all weapons. His 20 ships fired together. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled space. Enough firepower to destroy a moon hit the Indomitable. The black ship disappeared in the explosion. For a moment, Zarketh thought he won. Then the explosions cleared. The Indomitable floated in space, completely undamaged. Its black armor had absorbed everything. Not even a scratch showed on the hull. Impossible. Zarketh whispered. Your turn, Captain Chai said. The Indomitable's weapons fired. But these were not energy weapons. These were physical weapons. Railguns. Massive magnetic accelerators that threw solid metal slugs at incredible speed. The slugs were only 1 meter long, but they moved at a significant fraction of light speed. Coalition shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They could not stop solid matter moving that fast. The first slug hit Zarketh's cruiser directly. It went through the shield like it was not there. It went through the armor like paper. It went through the entire ship from front to back. The cruiser exploded. The Indomitable fired again and again. Each shot destroyed 1 Coalition ship. The railguns needed only 3 minutes to fire 20 times. 3 minutes to destroy 20 ships. Zarketh's flagship was last. He sat in his command chair, frozen with fear. He watched the black ship turn its weapons toward him. He tried to give orders, but words would not come. The final railgun slug hit his flagship in the engine section. The reactor lost containment. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. Captain Choi watched the debris field spread. Her tactical officer, Young Min Song, stood next to her. He was checking damage reports. All enemy ships destroyed, Youngmin said. Indomitable took no damage. All systems operating at full capacity. Good, Choi said. Send message to Admiral Lee. Proxima 7 is secure. Ready for next target. But similar scenes played across all 12 human systems. More massive black ships emerged from hiding. Each one appeared near a coalition attack force. Each one brought overwhelming firepower. The coalition scouts sent desperate messages back to their high command. They reported impossible ships, weapons that went through shields, armor that could not be damaged. They reported losing ships faster than they could count. The coalition high commander received all these reports. He looked at the battle map in horror. His 500 ships were being destroyed. In the first hour, 50 were already gone. The losses accelerated. How many ships do humans have? He demanded. An intelligence officer checked incoming data. Her face went pale. We count 200 battleships. All of massive size. All with capabilities beyond our technology. And... She paused. The words sent cold fear through the command center. Hunting. The human ships were not waiting for coalition forces to attack. They were chasing coalition ships down. In space near Mars Colony, another coalition squadron tried to retreat. 10 ships turned and ran at maximum speed. Behind them, a human Reaper battleship named Relentless pursued. The coalition ships were fast. But the Relentless was faster. It accelerated smoothly, closing the distance. The coalition commander could not believe it. His instruments said the massive human ship should be slow. It was a fortress. Fortresses do not move like fighters. But it did. The Relentless caught the fleeing squadron in minutes. Its railguns fired in a precise pattern. 1 shot per ship. 10 shots. 10 kills. No survivors. All across human space, the pattern repeated. Coalition forces tried to fight. They tried to run. Nothing worked. The Reaper fleet was everywhere. The black ships hunted with cold efficiency. By the end of the first day, coalition casualties reached 100 ships. Their attack plan collapsed completely. Commanders who survived sent one message back to coalition space. Retreat. Retreat now. The humans have weapons we cannot fight. From Earth Station Alpha, Admiral Lee broadcast again. This time his voice was hard and angry. You planned to kill us all. You brought 500 warships to exterminate humanity. You thought we would be easy prey. He paused. You learned something today. Humans prepare for threats. Humans build weapons in secret. Humans defend their families with everything they have. On the screen behind him, images showed the Reaper fleet in formation. 200 massive warships. Each one a fortress. Each one built over decades in complete secrecy. Each one designed with one purpose. Keep humans alive. These ships are called Reapers, Admiral Lee said. We built them, hoping we would never need them. We hid them, praying no one would make us use them. But you came. You brought war. You tried to commit genocide. His voice became quieter but more frightening. Now face what humanity builds when we're afraid. Now understand what happens when you threaten us. The Reapers are awake. And they will not stop until every one of your warships is destroyed or surrendered. Coalition Commander Zarketh's second-in-command took control of the surviving fleet. He sent one message to all coalition ships. Fall back to Rally Point Tertius. Regroup for counteroffensive. Over the next 6 hours, coalition ships fled from all 12 human systems. They ran as fast as their engines allowed. Behind them, the Reaper fleet pursued, but did not chase beyond human borders. They let the coalition go. For now, 430 coalition ships reached the rally point. They had started with 500. 70 ships destroyed in one day. The commanders gathered in holographic conference. They looked at each other with shock and fear. What are those ships? One commander asked. How do humans have such technology? Nobody had answers. But they all knew one thing. They had walked into a trap. They came expecting to hunt humans. Instead, they became the prey. Coalition Commander Kelvar stood before the High Council. His uniform was clean, but his face showed the stress of defeat. Around him, holographic projections showed the 12 High Council members. They ruled the coalition from their home worlds across the galaxy. Explain this disaster, Council Leader Fictional demanded. His voice echoed in the chamber. You lost 70 ships in one day. 70 ships against primitives who joined galactic space only 50 years ago. Kelvar kept his voice steady. The humans had weapons we did not know about. Their battleships are larger and more powerful than anything in our fleet. Their armor cannot be penetrated by our weapons. Their railguns go through our shields like they do not exist. Impossible. Another council member said. Our intelligence reported humans had only 50 ships. Small ships. Weak ships. That is what they wanted us to believe, Kelvar said. They hid 200 battleships in dead zones, where sensors cannot reach. They built them in secret over decades. These ships are not civilian vessels converted for war. They are pure military design, built only for killing. The council members spoke among themselves. Their voices mixed into angry noise. Finally, Fictional raised one limb for silence. We have 800 fresh ships mobilizing now, Fictional said. Take them. Destroy the humans. Do not return until human space is ours. Kelvar wanted to argue. He wanted to say this was foolish. But he knew better. The council did not accept failure. He saluted and left. In human space, Admiral Lee gathered his fleet captains in holographic conference. 200 faces looked at him from their ship bridges. Captain Choi of the Indomitable was there. So were captains of every Reaper battleship. Coalition is sending reinforcements, Admiral Lee said. Intelligence reports 800 ships are moving toward our borders. They will arrive in 3 days. Some captains looked worried. Others looked angry. Captain Choi spoke first. 800 against our 200. Still bad odds. But we proved our ships are superior. The Reapers were built for this. Admiral Lee agreed. Let me explain their design philosophy. The Coalition builds ships for glory. For display. For intimidation. They put energy into shields and beam weapons. They make their ships beautiful. He activated a holographic model of a Reaper battleship. The dark hull rotated slowly. We built for war. Only war. Every system on a Reaper exists to destroy enemies or survive damage. There is no decoration, no wasted space. The armor is layered composite that no one else uses. Coalition focused on energy shields and forgot about physical protection. Our railguns use that weakness. Engineer Ji-Woo Park spoke up. She worked on the Reaper design team. Our reactor design produces 3 times the power of Coalition reactors. They said our design was impossible. We proved them wrong. The extra power means faster speed, stronger shields, and more weapons fire. Speed is our advantage, another captain added. Coalition thinks fortresses are slow. They expect us to defend positions. We can chase them down instead. Admiral Lee nodded. Exactly. When the Coalition arrives with 800 ships, we will not wait for them. We will hunt them in small groups. Use our speed and armor. Target their supply lines. Destroy their coordination. Make them afraid. The meeting ended. Each captain returned to their ship with clear orders. The Reaper fleet would split into hunter groups. They would strike fast and disappear. They would make the Coalition fear empty space. 3 days later, Coalition reinforcements entered human territory. 800 warships in formation. Kelvar commanded from his new flagship, Eternal Glory. He felt better with so many ships. Surely numbers would win. His sensors immediately detected human ships, but not in defensive positions. The Reapers were moving in scattered groups. They looked like they were avoiding battle. "They are running," Kelvar said with satisfaction. "All ships, pursue. Do not let them escape." It was exactly what Admiral Lee wanted. The Coalition fleet broke formation to chase different Reaper groups. The organized attack became scattered hunting. Captain Choi led 5 Reapers through an asteroid belt. Her sensors showed 40 Coalition ships following. Their commander thought he trapped her. He was wrong. "Take positions," Choi ordered. Her 5 ships moved behind large asteroids. The dark hulls became nearly invisible against the rock. Young Min Song worked his tactical station. Enemy squadron entering the belt. "They are searching for us." "Wait," Choi said calmly. "Let them get deep inside." The 40 Coalition ships spread through the asteroids. Their active sensors pinged constantly, trying to find the Reapers. But the black armor absorbed the sensor beams. The Coalition sensors showed nothing but rocks. "Now," Choi said quietly, the Indomitable rose from behind its asteroid. It was above the Coalition formation. Every weapon locked onto different targets. The railguns fired. 5 Coalition ships exploded before they even knew what happened. The other 4 Reapers emerged from different positions. They created a crossfire that trapped the Coalition squadron. "Return fire!" The Coalition commander screamed. His ships tried to shoot at the Reapers, but the asteroids blocked their aim. The Reapers had cover. The Coalition ships did not. It took 10 minutes. 40 Coalition ships destroyed, 5 Reapers without a scratch. The debris drifted slowly through the asteroid field. "Send report to Admiral Lee," Choi said. "Ambush successful, moving to next target." Similar ambushes happened across human space. Coalition squadrons that broke formation to hunt were destroyed in detail. Supply convoys traveling to support the attack were intercepted and eliminated. The Coalition slowly realized their mistake. At Coalition High Command, Intelligence Officer Min Seo Kim's counterpart worked desperately. She intercepted human communications. She analyzed battle reports. What she found made her sick. In the Coalition databases, she discovered the truth about their war plan. It was not just military conquest. The Coalition planned complete genocide. After disarming humanity, they would release biological weapons on all colonies. They would sterilize every human world. The Coalition considered humans genetic pollution that needed elimination. She reported this to her superiors. They ordered her to keep it secret. She refused. She sent the data to neutral species across the galaxy. She included all evidence, all communications, all plans. The galactic reaction was immediate. Neutral species that had stayed quiet now spoke against the Coalition. The Vorqual Confederacy called it attempted xenocide. The Tentari Republic sent supplies to human colonies. The Coalition's reputation collapsed. More importantly, humans learned the truth. They learned the Coalition did not just want to conquer them. The Coalition wanted to erase humanity completely from existence. When Captain Choi heard this news, she gathered her crew. The Indomitable's personnel filled the main hangar bay. Over 3,000 humans looked up at their captain. "You have heard the reports," Choi said. Her voice carried across the bay. The Coalition did not come for territory. They came to kill every human in the galaxy. Our parents, our children, everyone we love. They planned to exterminate us, like insects. The crew was silent. Some had tears. Most had expressions of cold anger. "They thought we would be easy to kill," Choi continued. "They thought we were weak because we feel emotions, because we care about each other. They did not understand that those emotions make us stronger. We fight not for glory, not for conquest. We fight to protect our families." She pointed at the screens showing space outside. "Out there, 800 Coalition ships still hunt us. They still think they can win. Let us show them they are wrong." Let us show them what happens when you threaten humanity. To your stations. We have work to do. Right. Dod. Awe. The crew dispersed with renewed determination. They moved to their positions with purpose. The Indomitable's engines powered up to full strength. In space, the Coalition's 800 ships had already lost 100. Ambushes and supply raids were destroying them slowly. Kelvar looked at his casualty reports with growing horror. His fleet was being picked apart. All ships, reform main fleet, he ordered. We stay together. No more small groups. The remaining 700 Coalition ships gathered into one massive formation. They moved cautiously toward Earth. If they could not chase the Reapers down, they would attack the human home world. Force the humans to defend it. Admiral Lee watched them come. He sat in his command chair on Earth Station Alpha. Around him, officers tracked every Coalition ship. They are reforming, his tactical officer reported. All 700 ships moving together toward Earth. Good, Admiral Lee said. Send signal to all Reaper groups. Return to Earth space. Time to end this. Across human territory, the Reaper fleet turned. 200 battleships began converging on Earth. They moved at maximum speed. Dark shapes cutting through space. The Coalition fleet arrived at Earth's outer system. 700 ships in tight formation. Kelvar looked at his sensors. The Reaper fleet was coming to meet them. All 200 ships. This would be the decisive battle. Prepare all weapons, Kelvar ordered. We have numbers. We will overwhelm them with concentrated fire. His fleet formed into a traditional battle wall. Every ship side by side. Weapons facing forward. It was the standard Coalition tactic. Use superior numbers to create unstoppable firepower. The Reaper fleet did not form a battle line. They came in scattered groups. 5 ships here. 10 ships there. Moving independently, but with clear coordination. What are they doing? Kelvar's tactical officer asked. That formation makes no sense. They do not know proper tactics, Kelvar said. They are amateurs. Fire when in range. The two fleets closed. Space between them shrank. 100,000 kilometers. 50,000. 20,000. Close enough for weapons range. Fire, Kelvar shouted. 700 Coalition ships fired together. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled space. It was the most massive firepower demonstration in galactic history. Enough energy to destroy moons lit up the darkness. The Reaper fleet shields flared bright as they absorbed the attack. Some outer armor took damage. A few ships reported minor system failures. But none were destroyed. Then the Reapers fired back. 200 battleships unleashed their railguns. Solid slugs crossed space at incredible velocity. No energy waste. Just physics. Just mass times acceleration. The railgun slugs hit the Coalition battle wall like hammers striking glass. Shields designed for energy weapons could not stop solid matter moving so fast. The first volley destroyed 30 Coalition ships. Metal slugs punched through hulls, through reactor cores, through everything. Kelvar watched from his flagship as ships around him exploded. His confident smile disappeared. His 3 eyes went wide with fear. Return fire! All weapons! The Coalition fleet fired again. More energy beams. More plasma. The Reapers absorbed it like before. Their layered armor was built for this. Each layer was designed to handle specific damage types. Energy weapons had to burn through multiple barriers. It took time. Too much time. The Reapers fired their second volley. 40 more Coalition ships died. The explosions created a debris field that blocked sensors. The Coalition formation began breaking apart. Maintain formation, Kelvar ordered. But the chaos was too great. Ships moved to avoid debris. Some tried to get better, firing positions. The organized battle wall became scattered groups. Captain Choi saw the opening. Tactical. Mark the Coalition flagship. All nearby Reaper groups coordinate fire on command ship escorts. The Indomitable and 9 other Reapers focused on Kelvar's position. They moved through the battle with surprising speed. Their dark hulls made them hard to track in the chaos. Coalition ships fired at them but mostly missed. They are targeting me, Kelvar realized. Escort screen. Intercept those ships. 20 Coalition warships moved to protect their commander. They put themselves between the Reapers and the flagship. They fired everything they had. The lead Reaper took multiple hits. Its forward armor glowed red from energy weapon impacts. But it kept coming. The armor was thick. Very thick. It would take sustained fire to penetrate it. The Reapers did not give them time. 10 ships fired as one. 20 escort vessels exploded in seconds. The path to Kelvar's flagship was clear. "All power to shields," Kelvar shouted. His crew worked desperately. The flagship's shields reached maximum strength. It did not matter. Multiple railgun slugs hit the Eternal Glory from different angles. One punched through the bridge section. The armored glass shattered. Air rushed out into space. Kelvar grabbed his command chair as the atmosphere escaped. His crew died around him. Emergency systems sealed the bridge section. But the ship was crippled. Engines offline. Weapons offline. Shields failing. Kelvar sat in darkness, breathing from emergency air supply. "Flagship is disabled," a Reaper tactical officer reported. Coalition command structure collapsing. Without central coordination, Coalition ships began acting independently. Some captains tried to fight. Some tried to run. There was no organized response. The battle became chaos. Admiral Lee watched from Earth Station Alpha. His command screens showed the battle in detail. Coalition ships died by the dozens. His forces were winning. But something bothered him. "They are desperate," he said quietly. "Desperate enemies do dangerous things." He was right. Coalition ships suddenly changed tactics. Instead of trying to win, they tried to cause maximum damage. 50 ships accelerated toward Earth at maximum speed. Their reactors were overloading. They planned to ram the planet and self-destruct. "Intercept those ships," Admiral Lee ordered. "Do not let them reach Earth." 10 Reaper battleships moved to block the suicide run. They positioned themselves between the approaching ships and the planet. Their railguns fired continuously. Each shot destroyed one Coalition ship. But 50 ships were coming fast. The mathematics were simple. 10 Reapers. 50 targets. Not enough time to kill them all before they reached ramming range. "Brace for impact," Captain Hee-Suk Nam said from the Reaper battleship Defiant. Her ship was directly in the path of 5 Coalition ships. She knew what would happen. "Send message to Earth. Tell my family I love them." The Coalition ships reached the Reaper defensive line. 3 of them were destroyed at the last second. 2 got through. They slammed into the Defiant at full speed. Their overloading reactors detonated. The explosion was massive. It consumed the Defiant completely. The battleship broke apart under the force. Over 3,000 crew members died in seconds, but they stopped the suicide run. The other Reapers destroyed the remaining Coalition ships before they could reach Earth. The planet was safe, but the cost was high. Admiral Lee watched the Defiant's signal disappear from his screens. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them and continued commanding. Grief would come later. Now he had work to finish. Across the battle, Coalition ships realized their suicide tactic failed. Those who tried were destroyed. Those who remained faced the simple fact: they were losing. Badly. Kelvar's second officer took command from a surviving ship. He looked at the tactical display. Started with 800 ships. Now, only 300 remained combat effective. 200 more were damaged and fleeing. The Reaper fleet was still at nearly full strength, Send signal to all ships, the second officer said quietly. All ships. Retreat. Fall back to Coalition space. The order went out. Coalition ships that could still move turned and ran. Their faster-than-light drives charged. One by one, they jumped away from Earth space. They left their dead behind. Over 500 ships destroyed. Thousands of crew members dead. The Reapers did not pursue beyond human borders. They let the Coalition run. Admiral Lee's orders were clear. Defend human space, but do not invade Coalition territory. Humanity did not want conquest, only safety. As the last Coalition ship jumped away, the Reaper fleet regrouped near Earth. Captain Choi looked at damage reports from the Indomitable. 30% of the armor was damaged. Some weapon systems needed repair, but the ship was functional. Her crew was alive. Casualties across the fleet? She asked Young Min Song. He checked his screens. His face was sad. The Defiant was destroyed. Total loss. 3 other ships took severe damage but can be repaired. Overall, casualties. 200 dead. 800 wounded. It was a small number compared to Coalition losses. But each number was a person. Someone's family member. Someone's friend. Choi felt the weight of it. Send message to Admiral Lee, she said. Battle 1. Earth is secure. Requesting permission to conduct memorial service for the fallen. Permission came quickly. Across the Reaper fleet, crews gathered in their ships' main areas. They held simple ceremonies for those who died. No fancy speeches. Just honest words from people who knew them. On Earth, people watched the battle on their screens. They saw the Coalition arrive with 800 ships. They saw those ships die or run away. They saw the Defiant sacrifice itself to protect the planet. The whole world mourned the lost crew. At Coalition High Command, the remaining council members gathered. They looked at the battle reports in silence. 800 ships sent. 200 returned. Most of those damaged. The greatest military defeat in Coalition history. The humans are stronger than we believed, Council Leader Fictional said quietly. Their ships are superior. Their tactics are effective. Their determination is absolute. What do we do? Another council member asked. We cannot fight them. We lost over 1,000 ships total. Fictional's face became hard. There is one option. We still have the Starbreakers. The council chamber went silent. Every member knew what Starbreakers were. Ancient weapons. Banned by galactic law for centuries. Weapons that could destroy entire planets. You cannot be serious, one council member protested. Using Starbreakers would make us criminals in the eyes of all species. We would lose all diplomatic support. We already lost diplomatic support, Fictional said coldly. The other species know about our genocide plan. They know we tried to exterminate humanity. We have nothing left to lose. If we cannot defeat human ships, we will destroy human worlds. He activated a holographic display. It showed 3 heavily fortified stations in Coalition space. Each station housed a Starbreaker weapon, massive energy projectors that could destabilize a planet's core, cause earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that would make worlds uninhabitable. We target 3 worlds, Fictional said. Earth, the Mars colony, and Proxima 7. We destroy their population centers, kill billions, force the survivors to surrender. When? A council member asked. 72 hours. The weapons need time to charge. We activate them now. Fire in 3 days. Fictional looked at the others. Any objections? No one spoke. They were too afraid or too desperate to argue. The decision was made. In human space, Intelligence Officer Min Seo Kim sat at her station on Earth Station Alpha. She monitored Coalition communications constantly. Her team intercepted millions of messages every hour. Most were routine. Some were encrypted, but she could break the codes. Then she saw something that made her blood freeze. A message from Coalition High Command to 3 station commanders. It used the highest level of encryption, the kind used for weapons of mass destruction. She broke the encryption. She read the message. She read it again, hoping she was wrong. She was not wrong. Minseo ran to Admiral Lee's office. She did not knock. She burst through the door. The Admiral looked up, surprised at her panic. "Admiral, we have an emergency," she said. Her voice shook. "The Coalition is activating Starbreakers. They are going to fire on Earth, Mars, and Proxima 7. 72 hours. Admiral Lee stood up slowly. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the desk edge. "Are you certain?" Completely certain. I have the intercepted orders. The weapons are charging now." Minseo put her data tablet on his desk. "Starbreakers can destabilize planetary cores. They will cause catastrophic destruction. Billions will die. We cannot evacuate everyone in time." Admiral Lee looked at the data. He read the technical specifications of Starbreaker weapons. He calculated the timelines. Then, he called an emergency meeting of all senior commanders. Within the hour, every Reaper captain attended by hologram. They listened to Minseo's briefing. They saw the evidence. They understood what it meant. "We cannot stop the energy beams once fired," Captain Choi said. "And we cannot evacuate billions of people in 72 hours. Our only option is to destroy the weapons before they fire. The weapons are at 3 heavily fortified stations," Admiral Lee said. He showed the locations on a star map. Each station is defended by approximately 100 warships, plus station weapons and shields. We need to divide our fleet. He assigned forces. 80 Reapers would attack the station threatening Earth. 70 would attack the station threatening Mars. 50 would attack the station threatening Proxima 7. "The attacks must be simultaneous," Admiral Lee said. "If we destroy one weapon, the Coalition will fire the others early. We strike all 3 at the exact same time. We have 48 hours to reach the stations. Then, we have one chance to save our worlds." Tron 48 Sax. 10 time. Then, we have 48-hour worlds. The captains understood. This was different from the previous battles. This was not about defeating enemy ships. This was about stopping weapons that could kill billions. Failure was not acceptable. Captain Choi returned to the Indomitable. She gathered her senior officers. They looked tired. The previous battle had been exhausting. Now, they faced another fight. A more important fight. "I will not lie to you," Choi said to her officers. "This mission is dangerous. We are attacking fortified positions. We will take casualties. Some of us may not survive." She looked at each officer. "But if we fail, Earth dies. Mars dies. Proxima 7 dies. Our families die. Everything we fought to protect will be gone. So we will not fail. We cannot fail." Young Min Song spoke quietly. "The mathematics are not in our favor. 70 ships against 100 defenders plus station weapons. Even with our superior technology, we may not break through in time. Then we make our own mathematics," Choi said. "We hit them harder than they expect. We move faster than they can react. We use every advantage we have. And if necessary, we sacrifice ourselves to destroy those weapons." The officers nodded. They understood. This was the moment the Reapers were built for. Not to win glorious victories, but to protect human life, no matter the cost. The Reaper fleet divided into 3 task forces. They jumped to faster-than-light travel. 48 hours to reach their targets. Then, the fate of billions would be decided. Captain Choi stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Her task force of 70 Reaper battleships traveled through faster-than-light space. They moved toward Station Tertius, where the Starbreaker weapon that threatened Mars was located. Around her, the crew worked in focused silence. Young Min Song checked navigation. 47 hours until we arrive. Coalition defenses will be ready for us. Intelligence shows 100 warships positioned around the station. They know we are coming, Choi agreed. But they do not know how desperate we are. When we arrive, we attack immediately. No warnings. No negotiations. We destroy that weapon, or we die trying. She walked through her ship during the journey. She visited the engine room, where Ji Woo Park's engineering team worked on keeping systems at peak efficiency. She visited Medical Bay, where doctors prepared for casualties. She visited the crew quarters, where young men and women wrote messages to their families. Do you think we will make it back? A young weapons officer asked her. His name was Taeyang Shin. He looked barely 20 years old. Choi did not lie to him. I do not know. The odds are not good. But I know this. If we do not stop that weapon, your family on Mars dies. Everyone on Mars dies. So we will stop it. Whatever it takes. Taeyang nodded slowly. Then I am ready. In another part of space, Admiral Lee led 80 Reapers toward the station, threatening Earth. He sat in his command chair, watching the countdown. 36 hours until arrival. He thought about his wife and children on Earth. He thought about the 2 billion people living on his home world. Admiral, message from the other task forces, his communications officer said. Captain Min reports Task Force Blade is on schedule. Captain Choi reports Task Force Anvil is on schedule. Good, Lee said. Send reply. Stay coordinated. We strike together, or not at all. Captain Jae-hoon Min commanded the smallest task force. Only 50 Reapers headed toward the station, threatening Proxima 7. He knew his force faced the worst odds. Fewer ships, same number of defenders, but he did not hesitate. We are the smallest force, he told his captains. But Proxima 7 has 2 million colonists. Many are children. Families. They deserve to live. We will make sure they do. 48 hours passed quickly. The 3 task forces arrived at their targets simultaneously. Captain Choi's sensors showed Station Tertius orbiting a gas giant. The station was massive, 20 kilometers across. The Starbreaker weapon was visible as a huge energy projector, pointing toward empty space, toward where Mars would be when the weapon fired. Coalition Defense Fleet is in formation around the station, Youngman reported. Confirmed. 100 warships. Multiple weapon platforms on the station itself. Heavy shields protecting the Starbreaker. Time until the weapon fires? Choi asked. 16 hours. The charging sequence is already active. If we do not destroy it in 16 hours, Mars dies. Mars. Choi opened communication to her task force. All ships, this is Choi. You know what we face. You know what happens if we fail. I will not give inspiring speeches. I will only say this. Our families are counting on us. Attack formation. Full speed. Hit them with everything. 70 Reaper battleships accelerated toward the station. They did not try to be clever. No ambush tactics, no tricks. Just raw determination. They charged directly at the defenders. Coalition Commander Vektar watched them come. He commanded the defense fleet from his flagship. Foolish humans. They attacked directly into our prepared defenses. All ships, open fire. 100 coalition warships fired together. Energy beams and missiles filled space. The Reapers' shields lit up bright as they absorbed the attack. Several ships reported armor damage. But they kept coming. Return fire, Choi ordered. Target their command ships first. The Reaper railguns fired. Even while taking damage, their targeting was precise. The first volley destroyed 15 coalition ships. 15 command vessels, identified by their communication patterns. The coalition formation wavered. Vektar felt his ship shake from nearby explosions. Maintain formation. Focus fire on the lead ships. The coalition concentrated their weapons on the front Reapers. The Indomitable was in the lead. It took massive amounts of fire. Its forward armor began to fail. Warning lights flashed on the bridge. Forward armor at 40%, the damage control officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Keep going, Choi said calmly. All power to forward shields. We need to reach the station. Around her, other Reapers pushed forward, despite damage. They created a wall of ships that absorbed punishment and kept advancing. The Coalition fired desperately. They destroyed 3 Reapers. Then 5 more. But the rest kept coming. The Reapers reached close range. Now their superior armor became the deciding factor. At close range, they could fire continuously while the Coalition struggled to penetrate their hulls. The battle became brutal. Ships on both sides exploded, space filled with debris and radiation. 40 Coalition ships destroyed, Young Min reported. We have lost 8 Reapers. 20 more. Heavily damaged. The station shields are still up, Choi said. We need to break through to the Starbreaker itself. She made a decision. A hard decision. All ships. Concentrate fire on one section of the station shields. Pour everything into that one point. Ignore the enemy ships. Focus on the shields. And Passin. Weth. It was risky. It meant taking fire without fighting back against the warships. But it was the only way to break through massive station defenses. 70 Reaper battleships turned their weapons on one small section of the station shield. Hundreds of railguns fired at the same spot. The shield glowed bright white. Energy readings went off the scale. The Coalition generator tried to compensate. It could not handle the focused assault. The shield section failed. A gap opened in the station's defenses. Now, Choi ordered. Boarding teams, launch. Small assault shuttles launched from the Reapers. They carried Marine teams trained for this exact mission. The shuttles flew through the shield gap, while Reapers provided covering fire. Marine Commander So-Yeon Lee led the assault team. Her shuttle took fire from station weapons. The hull shook. One of her Marines died when a hull section ripped open. But they made it through. The shuttle crashed into the station's docking bay. Move! Move! So-Yeon shouted. Their mission was simple. Reach the Starbreaker control room and destroy it. Station defenders fired from defensive positions. Coalition soldiers tried to stop the Marines. Firefights erupted in corridors. So-Yeon's team fought through with determination. They had 15 hours. Not enough time to be careful. Charges on the door, So-Yeon ordered. They reached a heavily armored door marked with Coalition symbols. It led to the weapon control center. Her demo expert placed explosives. Everyone took cover. The explosion was massive in the enclosed space. The door blew inward. Marines charged through smoke and fire. Inside, Coalition technicians worked desperately to keep the weapon charging. They looked up in fear as armored humans burst into the room. Stop the weapon, So-Yeon ordered. The Coalition technicians refused. They were loyal or afraid. It did not matter. So-Yeon's demolition expert went straight to the control systems. He placed charges on the main computers, on the power conduits, on everything that controlled the Starbreaker. Charges set, he shouted. 30 seconds. Everyone out. So-Yeon ordered. The Marines ran. They sprinted back through corridors, past Coalition soldiers, toward the docking bay. 25 seconds. 20 seconds. They reached their shuttle. Engines were damaged but functional. The pilot got them airborne. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. The shuttle cleared the station. 5 seconds. 3 seconds. 1. The explosives detonated. The control systems exploded. Power conduits overloaded. The Starbreaker weapons charging sequence stopped. The massive energy that had been building discharged harmlessly into space. A bright flash that could be seen across the system. But no danger to Mars. Weapon destroyed, Young Min shouted on the Indomitable bridge. Similar scenes played out at the other two stations. Admiral Lee's task force hammer fought through heavy defenses. They lost 30 Reapers, but broke through. Their Marines destroyed the weapon, threatening Earth with only minutes to spare. But at the third station, Captain Min's task force blade faced disaster. With only 50 ships against 100 defenders, the mathematics worked against them. They fought bravely. They destroyed enemy ships. But they could not break through fast enough. "We are out of time," Captain Min said quietly. He looked at his tactical display. The weapon would fire in 3 minutes. His ships were still fighting the defense fleet. The station shields were still up. There was no way to reach the weapon in time. He made the only choice left. All ships. This is Min. The weapon will fire, unless we stop it now. There is only one way. He paused. Full speed. Ramming attack. All ships, follow me. His officers understood immediately. They would sacrifice themselves, ram their ships into the Starbreaker, destroy it with their own mass and exploding reactors. "Captain, no," his tactical officer protested. "There must be another way." Cooled. "There is not," Min said. He smiled sadly. "But this is what we built these ships for. To protect our people. Tell my family I died doing my duty." 25 Reaper battleships turned toward the station. They accelerated to maximum speed. Their crews knew what was coming. Some said prayers. Some sent final messages. All stayed at their posts. The coalition defenders tried to stop them. They fired everything they had. They destroyed some of the ramming ships. But not enough. Not nearly enough. The Reapers hit the station at full speed. 25 massive battleships. Each one traveling incredibly fast. Each reactor set to overload on impact. The explosions were enormous. The station broke apart. The Starbreaker weapon shattered. The energy that had been charging released in all directions, but not focused on Proxima 7. The colony was safe. All 25 ships were destroyed. All 3,000 crew members died, including Captain Jae-hoon Min. When the news reached Earth Station Alpha, Admiral Lee closed his eyes. He had known Min for 30 years. They served together, trained together. Now, Min was gone, along with 3,000 brave men and women, but they had succeeded. All 3 Starbreakers were destroyed. Earth, Mars, and Proxima 7 were safe. The Coalition's final weapon was gone. Coalition High Command received reports of the failures. All 3 weapons destroyed. The defense fleets shattered. They had nothing left. No weapons. No ships. No options. "Send message to the humans," Council Leader Fictional said quietly. "Unconditional surrender." The message came to Admiral Lee 6 hours later. He read it carefully. The Coalition surrendered completely. They agreed to all terms. The war was over, but the cost was heavy. 60 Reaper battleships destroyed. 12,000 human casualties. Captain Min and his entire task force gone. Captain Choi attended the memorial service on Mars. Thousands of people gathered. They came to honor the fallen. She stood at the podium and read names. So many names. "They came to kill us," Choi said, after reading the names. "The Coalition brought war to our homes. They planned to exterminate every human in the galaxy. They learned something important. We do not die easily. We fight for our families. We sacrifice for each other. We build weapons we hope to never use. But when forced to fight, we fight to win." She looked up at the sky. The Reapers were built in secret, hidden in darkness. They were our insurance policy, our last defense. Today they proved their worth, not because they were powerful weapons, but because brave people used them to protect innocent lives. The galaxy changed after the war. The Coalition government collapsed. Former Coalition territories asked for human protection. The Galactic Council offered humanity a seat on the Security Council. Neutral species that had feared humans now respected them. Admiral Lee retired 6 months later. He was tired. The war had aged him. Captain Choi became the youngest fleet admiral in human history. She took command of the Reaper fleet. 1 year after the war, a new alien species made first contact with humanity. They were called the Zephrani. They seemed friendly, but cautious. Their ambassador came to Earth Station Alpha. Min Seo Kim, now director of First Contact, met with the Zephrani ambassador. They talked about trade, about culture, about cooperation. Then the ambassador asked about the dark ships they saw on long-range sensors. "What are those vessels?" the ambassador asked. "They appear very powerful, very dangerous." Min Seo looked at him carefully. "Those ships exist because someone once threatened us. They thought we were weak. They tried to exterminate us. They learned. Humanity protects its own." She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the Reaper fleet floated in formation. 240 ships now. Humanity had built 40 more, just in case. "Be our friend," Min Seo said. "And you will never fear those ships. They will protect you too. Be our enemy." She paused. "Be our enemy, and you will understand why they exist." The Zephrani ambassador looked at the dark battleships. He saw their weapons, their armor, their power. He made his choice quickly. "We choose friendship." Min Seo smiled. "Then welcome to humanity's circle of protection." Far in deep space, the Reaper fleet maintained its eternal watch. Silent guardians of human worlds. They were built in secret, revealed in desperation, proven in war. Now they stood as a promise to the galaxy. The promise was simple. Humanity will defend itself. Humanity will protect its people. Humanity will never be helpless again. Those who came in peace would find friendship. Those who came with war would find only death. The Reapers made sure of that. The galaxy learned the lesson well. No one threatened humanity again. Not because humans sought conquest, but because everyone understood the simple truth. Humans prepared for war during peace. They built weapons, hoping never to use them. But when forced to fight, they fought with absolute determination. They sacrificed everything to protect their families. They turned hidden ships into legendary defenders. The war had been intended to take human lives. Instead, it taught the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. The Reapers were the lesson. A lesson written in metal and fire and sacrifice. And the galaxy remembered. The morning sun rose over New Sejong like it always did, painting the farming fields in shades of gold and orange. Governor Park Min-ho stood at his office window, watching the colonists begin their daily work. From here, everything looked peaceful. The tractors moved slowly through the crop fields. Children walked toward the small school building. Smoke rose from the kitchen chimneys as families prepared breakfast. To anyone watching, New Sejong looked like exactly what it was supposed to be. A poor farming colony on the edge of human space. A place where Earth sent people who wanted a fresh start, but couldn't afford anything better. The equipment was old. The buildings needed paint. The communication arrays barely worked half the time. Park smiled slightly at that last thought. The arrays worked perfectly fine. They just looked broken. He turned away from the window and sat at his desk. The morning reports were already waiting for him. Crop yields were acceptable. Water recycling systems running normally. The school needed new teaching materials. The medical clinic requested more supplies. Normal problems for a normal colony. Except, New Sejong was not normal at all. Park heard footsteps in the hallway. A moment later, Kim Ji-woo entered, without knocking. The big farmer wiped dirt from his hands onto his work pants. His face was weathered from years under the sun, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Morning, Governor," Kim said. "Got those sensor readings you asked about?" Park gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Show me." Kim pulled out a small datapad. It looked ancient, with a cracked screen and missing buttons. But when he activated it, the display showed detailed scanning data that would make a military-grade sensor jealous. 3 nights in a row now, Kim said, pointing at the screen. Small ships doing flyovers. They stay just outside our official sensor range. But the buried arrays picked them up clean. Park studied the data carefully. The ships were trying to be stealthy. They were good at it too. Any normal colony would never have noticed them. But New Sejong had sensors hidden in the fields, buried under the roads, disguised as broken equipment. Kreth design, Park said quietly. Probably scout ships. That's what I thought too, Kim agreed. Want me to pass the word? Park nodded. Quietly. No changes to routine. Everyone keeps doing exactly what they've been doing. Kim stood to leave, then paused at the door. How long do you think we have? If they're scouting? Maybe a week. Maybe less. Park met his old friend's eyes. Make sure everyone is ready. We've been ready since day 1, Governor. You know that. After Kim left, Park returned to looking out his window. Down in the fields, he could see Lee Soo-jin leading her class of children on their morning nature walk. She pointed at plants and asked questions. The children laughed and raised their hands eagerly. Teacher Lee had been a tactical communications officer for 12 years before she retired. Now she taught mathematics and biology to children. But her classroom had reinforced walls, and the nature walks always included lessons on the safest routes through the colony during emergencies. In the medical clinic, Dr. Choi Young-hee was probably reviewing supplies. She treated cuts and colds and helped deliver babies. She was kind and patient with every patient. She also knew exactly how to field treat plasma burns and could perform battlefield surgery in her sleep. Farmer Kim would go back to his fields now. He would check the crops and adjust the irrigation systems and repair equipment. The fact that he had been an engineering specialist in Earth's Defense Force was something most people forgot. The fact that his irrigation systems could pump industrial-grade adhesive compounds through every field in the colony was something very few people knew. This was New Sejong's secret. Earth's weakest colony was populated almost entirely by retired military personnel. Soldiers who had finished their service. Engineers who wanted peace. Specialists who had done their time and wanted to grow old somewhere quiet. They had come here to farm, to teach, to build new lives away from war. But they had not forgotten their training. And Earth had not sent them here by accident. Park had designed defensive systems for 20 years before accepting this position. He knew how to hide weapons in plain sight. He knew how to make a fortress look like a farm. And he knew exactly why Earth had asked him to build New Sejong the way he did. The galaxy was not as peaceful as many species wanted to believe. There were empires that expanded by conquest. Raiders who attacked weak targets. Pirates who thought isolated colonies were easy prey. Earth needed eyes and ears on the frontier. They needed settlements that could defend themselves. But they also needed those settlements to look helpless and unimportant. Places that aggressive species would ignore or underestimate. So, Earth built failed colonies. Poor settlements with old equipment and no obvious military value. And then they staffed them with the most dangerous civilians in human space. Park's datapad buzzed. Another report from the hidden sensor network. The scout ships were being more obvious now. They wanted to be seen. They wanted the colony to panic. He opened a communication channel. This is Governor Park to all department heads. Morning briefing in 10 minutes. Attendance mandatory. One by one, his staff confirmed. They sounded casual and relaxed. Anyone listening to the communications would hear a routine administrative meeting. 10 minutes later, Park sat in the conference room with his senior staff. Teacher Lee was there. Dr. Choi. Farmer Kim. Engineer Han. Maintenance Chief Yun. All of them looked like simple colonial administrators. All of them had served in Earth's military for at least a decade. The Kreth are coming, Park said simply. Scout ships have been observing us for 3 days. Based on their patterns, I estimate we have less than 48 hours before they attack. No one looked surprised or afraid. They had all known this day would come eventually. That was why they were here. Do we call for help? Dr. Choi asked. Park shook his head. Nearest Earth defense fleet is 16 days away. By the time they arrive, it will be over one way or another. So we use Protocol Dandelion, Engineer Han said. It was not a question. Yes. Begin preparations immediately. But nothing visible. Everything stays hidden. Until they commit to the attack. Teacher Lee smiled slightly. Let them think we're helpless farmers until it's too late. Exactly, Park agreed. The Kreth are good warriors, but they're also arrogant. They think overwhelming force guarantees victory. We're going to teach them a different lesson. The meeting continued for another hour. They reviewed defensive positions, checked weapon systems, confirmed that every colonist knew their role. By the time they finished, Park felt confident, not happy. He hated that violence was necessary, but confident that his people would survive. That night, Park stood outside his residence and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Kreth commanders were planning their attack. They were probably celebrating already, thinking about the easy conquest ahead of them. They saw New Sejong as Earth's embarrassment. A failed colony, full of poor farmers. An easy target that would send a message to humanity. That humans were not as strong as they pretended. That their expansion could be stopped. Park allowed himself a cold smile. Let them think that. Let them come with their superior weapons and their elite warriors. Let them expect an easy victory. The Kreth were about to learn something important about humanity. Humans didn't need the best equipment to be dangerous. They just needed determination and the will to survive. And on that front, New Sejong had more than enough of both. 2 days later, the Kreth fleet arrived. The alarm in Governor Park's office made a soft chiming sound. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would cause panic. But everyone in New Sejong knew what it meant. The enemy had arrived. Park walked calmly to his command center. It was hidden in the basement of the administration building. To visitors, it looked like a storage room full of old supplies. But behind a false wall was equipment that would impress a military flagship. His senior staff were already there. On the main screen, 20 Kreth warships hung in orbit above the planet. They were arranged in an attack formation. Clean, professional, intimidating. They brought their A-team, Engineer Han observed. Those are Dominion military ships, not pirates or raiders. Park nodded. The Kreth Dominion was one of the more aggressive empires in this sector. They had been expanding steadily for decades. Usually, they attacked non-aligned worlds or weak colonies, places with no real defenses, places like New Sejong was supposed to be. The communication system activated. A Kreth face appeared on screen. The commander had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern. His skin was dark blue and covered in ritual scarring that marked him as a veteran warrior. When he spoke, his voice was deep and confident. Human colony, the Kreth said. I am Commander Vex Thor of the Kreth Dominion 3rd Fleet. You are surrounded and outmatched. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated according to the laws of conquest. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 5 of your minutes to decide. Park activated his own camera. He made sure he looked like exactly what he was supposed to be. A tired, middle-aged man in civilian clothes. Someone who spent more time on farming reports than military strategy. Commander Vex Thor, Park said politely. I am Governor Park Min-ho of New Sejong Colony. I appreciate your directness. However, I must decline your offer. We are a peaceful settlement under Earth protection. Any attack on us will be considered an act of war against humanity. On screen, Vex Thor's expression changed to something that might have been amusement. Your nearest military support is weeks away, human, and your colony has no defenses that our sensors can detect. You are farmers with old equipment. This is not a negotiation. Surrender or die. Park allowed himself a small, sad smile. Commander, I will give you one warning. You still have time to leave. If you attack this colony, you will regret it. Please, reconsider. Vex Thor's 4 eyes narrowed. Brave words from a helpless administrator. Very well. You have chosen death. We will be merciful and make it quick. The screen went dark. Park took a deep breath and looked at his team. Mark the time. Let's see how fast we can do this. Protocol Dandelion is active, Engineer Han reported. Park opened the colony-wide channel. Attention, New Sejong. This is the governor. Protocol Dandelion is now in effect. Everyone knows what to do. Stay safe. Stay smart. We'll get through this together. Throughout the colony, colonists received the message. They did not panic. They did not run. They simply moved to their assigned positions, with practiced calm. In the school, Teacher Lee dismissed her class. The children filed out in an orderly line and went to the reinforced shelter under the cafeteria. Lee herself went to her real station, the communications hub disguised as a library. At the medical clinic, Dr. Choi directed her patients to the underground treatment area. Then she activated the clinic's secondary systems. Defensive turrets rose from hidden compartments in the roof. Medical supply drones reconfigured themselves into automated defense platforms. Farmer Kim climbed into his tractor. To anyone watching, he was just moving equipment to safety. In reality, he was taking position at the eastern field defense grid. His tractor had armor plating under the rusty exterior. And the agricultural equipment in the storage barn behind him would make a very different kind of harvest today. In orbit, the Kreth fleet began its descent. 20 ships carrying 5,000 elite warriors. Plasma weapons charged. Shields at maximum. They came down like metal rain, confident and unstoppable. Commander Vex Thor watched from his flagship. Target the administration building first, then destroy their power generation. After that, we land troops and secure the resources. Yes, Commander. His weapons officer replied. Entering. Firing range in 30 seconds. Commander, the sensor officer interrupted. What is strange? Vex Thor demanded. The colony's communication towers. They're moving. On the ground, all across New Sejong. Structures that looked like broken communications equipment suddenly activated. Panels fell away, revealing clean metal underneath. Old-looking towers straightened and locked into position. What had seemed like civilian infrastructure transformed into something very different. Military-grade railgun batteries. Evasive action! Vex Thor shouted. But it was too late. The first salvo from New Sejong's hidden defenses crossed the distance in less than a second. Solid metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. 3 Kreth landing craft exploded before they could react. 2 more spiraled out of control. Their systems shredded by the kinetic impacts. Return fire, Vex Thor ordered. All ships target those weapons. The Kreth fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles screamed toward the colony. But the defenses were already moving. The railgun platforms shifted positions. Defensive shields activated around critical structures. Automated countermeasures intercepted incoming fire. More importantly, the Kreth had targeted the wrong things. The structures they thought were weapons were actually decoys. The real defensive systems were buried underground, or hidden inside buildings that looked like ordinary homes. Another volley from the colony. 4 more Kreth ships took critical damage. 1 exploded completely. The others managed emergency landings, their crews scrambling to exit the burning wreckage. How is this possible? Vex Thor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. They're farmers. Our intelligence said no military presence. His intelligence officer was frantically reviewing data. Commander, those aren't communication towers. They're disguised weapons platforms. and I'm reading power signatures all over the colony. Underground installations. Hidden bunkers. This isn't a farming settlement. This is a fortified military base, disguised as a colony. Vex Thor felt something he had not experienced in many years. Fear. All ships. Establish orbit. Do not land. I repeat, do not land. But half his fleet was already committed to atmospheric insertion. They could not abort without catastrophic crashes. They had no choice but to continue their descent into what was rapidly becoming obvious as a trap. The remaining ships came down in the planned landing zones. Big open fields, perfect for unloading troops and equipment. The Kreth warriors emerged quickly and professionally. They established perimeter defenses. They scanned for threats. They followed their training perfectly. That was when the irrigation systems activated. All across the landing zones, sprinkler systems erupted. But instead of water, they sprayed a thick, clear liquid. It covered the Kreth warriors instantly. Within seconds, it hardened into an incredibly strong adhesive compound. Warriors found themselves stuck to the ground, to each other, to their own equipment. Chemical attack, a Kreth squad leader shouted. Deploy countermeasures. But before they could act, the greenhouse vents opened. Gas poured out across the fields. Not poison. Something that made Kreth eyes burn and lungs seize. Concentrated capsaicin compounds. Pepper spray on an industrial scale. Through the gas and chaos, human figures appeared. They moved with military precision. They wore simple farming clothes, but carried weapons that were anything but simple. Modified industrial equipment that had been converted into devastating combat tools. Kim Ji-woo drove his tractor straight into a Kreth formation. The vehicle's hidden armor deflected their plasma fire. The harvesting equipment on the front, sharp blades designed to cut crops, cut through Kreth combat armor just as easily. A Kreth warrior managed to tear free from the adhesive and charged at what he thought was a human civilian. The elderly-looking woman didn't run. She pivoted smoothly, redirected his attack, and used his own momentum to slam him into the ground. Then she disabled him with a precise strike to his nerve cluster. Her name was Grandmother Park. She ran the colony's community center. She had also been a hand-to-hand combat instructor for 18 years. All over the landing zones, the scene repeated itself. Kreth warriors, trained and equipped for planetary conquest, found themselves outmaneuvered by farmers who fought like special forces operators. Because that's exactly what they were. In his command center, Governor Park watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 4 minutes had passed since the Kreth entered weapons range. They had lost 11 ships and roughly 2,000 warriors. The remaining forces were trapped in pre-planned kill zones, confused and desperate. Commander Vex Thor is trying to retreat the orbital ships, Engineer Han reported. Park nodded slowly. Show them what happens if they run. Hidden among the asteroids in the system's belt, platforms that had seemed like mining equipment activated. They had been there for months. Waiting. Silent. Now they spoke with the voice of railguns and missile batteries. Commander Vex Thor watched in horror as his retreat became a slaughter. Ships that tried to flee found themselves targeted by weapons they couldn't even see. His fleet, which had been so confident 20 minutes ago, was being systematically destroyed. On the surface, Kreth warriors began surrendering. They threw down their weapons and activated their emergency beacons. They had come to conquer farmers. Instead, they had attacked veterans who knew every trick, every strategy, every weakness in Kreth military doctrine. Park checked his display. 9 minutes and 47 seconds since first contact. The battle was effectively over. New Sejong had 12 wounded colonists. No deaths. The Kreth had lost everything. He opened a channel to the surviving Kreth. Commander Vex Thor. This is Governor Park. You are surrounded. Your fleet is destroyed. Your warriors are captured. Surrender now, and you will be treated with dignity and respect under human military law. There was a long silence. Then Vex's Thor's voice, quiet and defeated. How? You were supposed to be helpless. Park's response was gentle but firm. We are farmers, Commander. But we're human farmers, and humans survive. The battlefield fell silent, except for the crackling of burning Kreeth ships and the quiet sounds of captured warriors being processed. Governor Park stood in his command center, watching the aftermath through dozens of camera feeds. 10 minutes ago, this had been a peaceful farming colony. Now, it looked like a war zone. But even in the chaos, his people moved with purpose. Dr. Choi and her medical teams were already treating wounded Kreeth prisoners alongside the few injured colonists. Teacher Lee coordinated the collection of weapons and equipment with the efficiency of someone who had done this many times before. Farmer Kim and his crew used their agricultural equipment to clear debris and secure the crash sites. Park opened a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. It would take several minutes for the message to reach Earth and for a response to return. In the meantime, he had other responsibilities. All teams, status report, he ordered calmly. Engineer Han responded first. Eastern defense grid secure. All systems performed within acceptable parameters. No permanent damage to any installations. Medical here. Dr. Choi's voice came through. 12 of our people injured, none seriously. Approximately 300 Kreeth wounded. We're treating them now. I need more medical supplies from Storage 3. Education sector secure, Teacher Lee reported. All children safe in shelters, no damage to essential structures. The school will need a new roof, but classes can continue. One by one, the reports came in. The colony had some damage, mostly superficial. A few buildings would need repairs. Some fields had been torn up by combat and crash landings, but the core infrastructure remained intact. The hidden defenses had worked exactly as designed. Park allowed himself a moment of relief. Then he focused on the next problem. They had approximately 2,000 Kreeth prisoners. That was a lot of enemy soldiers to manage safely. Commander Park? A new voice on the channel. Young Corporal Min from Security. We have the Kreeth commander. He's requesting to speak with you directly. Bring him to conference room 2, Park ordered. Standard security protocols. 10 minutes later, Park sat across a table from Commander Vex Thor. The Kreeth commander looked different now. His armor was damaged. One of his 4 eyes was covered with a medical patch. His proud warrior bearing had been replaced with exhausted defeat. 2 of Park's security staff stood by the door. They looked relaxed, but Park knew they were ready to respond to any threat in less than a second. Both had been special operations soldiers before retirement. Governor Park, Vex Thor said quietly. His voice carried none of the confidence from earlier. I do not understand what happened. Our intelligence was thorough. This colony was supposed to be defenseless. I know. I think the pain to Panlins, but it see them pleasing to be. I know. Park poured 2 cups of tea. He pushed one across the table to Vex Thor. The Kreeth commander looked at it suspiciously. It's just tea, Commander, Park said with a slight smile. We're not going to poison you. You're a prisoner of war now. That means you have rights under human military law. Vex Thor took the cup, but didn't drink. You let us land. You could have destroyed all our ships in orbit. Why allow us to reach the surface? Because destroying your ships would have killed all your warriors, Park explained. We only wanted to stop your attack, not commit genocide. Once you were on the ground, you could surrender. When you realized the situation, surrender. Vex Thor said the word like it tasted bad. My warriors do not surrender. We fight until victory or death. Your warriors surrendered today, Park pointed out gently. Because they're smart enough to know when continuing to fight is pointless. That's not weakness, Commander. That's wisdom. Vex Thor was quiet for a long moment. You are not farmers. We are farmers, Park corrected. We're also engineers. teachers, doctors, parents, and community members. We grow crops, and raise children, and build lives here. But yes, most of us also used to be soldiers. That doesn't mean we stopped being everything else. This makes no sense, Vex Thor said, frustration clear in his voice. Why would Earth's warriors pretend to be weak? Why hide your strength? If other species knew the truth, they would fear to attack any human colony. Park considered his answer carefully. Commander, let me ask you something. Why did you attack New Sejong? Because you appeared weak. An easy target to demonstrate Kreeth's strength. Exactly. You attacked because you thought we were helpless. If we had looked strong, would you have attacked? No. We would have chosen a different target, and that different target would have been another colony that actually was weak and helpless, Park said. Other colonies that don't have our advantages. Places with real farmers and teachers who just want to live in peace. Do you understand now? We look weak. So predators like you attack us instead of attacking them. Vex Thor's remaining 3 functional eyes widened slightly. You are bait. A trap for aggressive species. We prefer to think of ourselves as guardians, Park replied. But yes, New Sejong exists partly to protect other human settlements. We look like easy prey, so that actual civilians don't become targets. Outside the conference room, the work of securing the colony continued. Farmer Kim walked through his eastern fields, assessing the damage. Several acres of crops had been destroyed in the fighting. The irrigation system would need repairs. One of his storage barns had taken a plasma hit and was still smoking. But Kim had seen much worse during his military service. This was just work to be done. He made notes on his datapad, planning the repairs. The fields would recover. They always did. Hey, Farmer Kim, someone called. It was Jungmin Soo, who ran the colony's equipment maintenance depot. That trick with the adhesive foam worked perfectly. We should increase production. Never know when we'll need it again, Kim laughed, always thinking ahead. That's good, but let's hope we don't need it again anytime soon. In the medical clinic, Dr. Choi moved between beds with quiet efficiency. Human and Kreth patients received the same level of care. One of the Kreeth warriors, a young female with a broken arm, watched Choi work with confused fascination. Why do you help us? The warrior asked in broken human language. We came to conquer you. Choi carefully set the warrior's broken bone before answering. Because you're hurt, and I'm a doctor. That's reason enough. Also, the war is over. You lost. Now you're just people who need medical attention. I do not understand humans, the warrior said quietly. That's okay, Choi replied with a gentle smile. Most days I don't understand us either. We're complicated. Now hold still while I apply the cast. In the school shelter, Teacher Lee was helping the children return to their classroom. The kids were excited and asking questions about the battle. Lee answered them honestly but carefully, making sure to emphasize the right lessons. Miss Lee, were you scared? A small boy asked. A little bit, Lee admitted. Being scared is normal. But being scared doesn't mean you stop doing what needs to be done. All of you went to the shelter, calmly and quietly. You followed the rules. That helped keep everyone safe. You should be proud. A girl raised her hand. Are the aliens bad people? Lee thought about that question carefully. They made a bad choice. They chose to attack us. But that doesn't make them bad people. They're prisoners now. And we'll treat them fairly and with respect. Because how we treat others says something about who we are. Back in the command center, Park received the first response from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Torres appeared on screen. She looked impressed and slightly amused. Governor Park, we've reviewed the battle data you transmitted. Very efficient work. 10 minutes is a new record for repelling a full-scale invasion. Thank you, Admiral. Though I wish the invasion hadn't been necessary at all. Understood. We're dispatching a transport ship to collect the prisoners. It will arrive in 6 days. Can you maintain security until then? Not a problem. The prisoners are cooperating. Most of them seem relieved. The fighting is over. Torres nodded. I imagine they are. The Kreth have never encountered human defensive strategy before. This will probably change their entire approach to expansion in this sector. Good work, Governor. Earth is proud of New Sejong. After the communication ended, Park walked outside. The artificial sun of Harmony 7 was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Around him, colonists were cleaning up, repairing damage, getting ready to return to normal life. Normal life. That was what they all wanted. To grow crops, to raise families, to teach children, to build something good and lasting. The fact that they could also defend themselves with deadly efficiency was just a tool, a necessary skill that they hoped to never need again, but would always maintain. Commander Vex Thor was given quarters in a secured building. It was comfortable and clean. Guard outside the door, but not treated like a dangerous criminal. Park had arranged for him to have access to communication equipment so he could contact the Kreth Dominion. That night, Vex Thor composed a message to his government. It was not a message of defiance or promises of revenge. It was a warning. To the Dominion Council, he wrote carefully, our attack on the human colony New Sejong has failed completely. The colony was not defenseless as our intelligence indicated. It was a sophisticated military installation disguised as a civilian settlement. Human casualties were minimal. Our losses were total. I strongly recommend we reconsider all plans for human territorial expansion. These beings are far more dangerous than we understood. They do not need obvious military might to destroy us. They only need us to underestimate them. I survived only because they chose mercy. That mercy should not be mistaken for weakness. He sent the message and sat in the quiet room. Outside his window, he could see human colonists still working, repairing their home, talking and laughing, despite everything that had happened today. Vex's Thor had fought in many battles across many worlds. He had conquered systems and defeated armies, but he had never encountered anything like humanity, a species that could be both fierce warriors and gentle farmers. People who could destroy you completely and then offer you tea afterward. For the first time in his military career, Vex Thor was glad he had lost. The news traveled fast, faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the battle, information was spreading through the Galactic network. By the next morning, every major species in the sector knew what had happened at New Sejong. Earth's weakest colony had destroyed a Kreth Dominion invasion fleet in less than 10 minutes. Governor Park sat in his office, watching the galactic news feeds on his display. Different species had different reactions. Some were shocked. Some were frightened. Some were calling for immediate diplomatic meetings. The commentary ranged from disbelief to concern to outright fear. They're calling it the 10-minute war, Engineer Han said from the doorway. It's already become famous. Or infamous, depending on who you ask. Park rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept much since the battle. Too much to organize. Too many reports to file. Too many decisions to make. Any response from the Kreth Dominion government? Official statement just came through. They're apologizing to Earth and requesting negotiations. They claim Commander Vex Thor acted without proper authorization. Han smirked slightly. Interesting how he didn't need authorization until after he lost. Politics, Park said with a tired smile. They need to save face. Let them have their fiction. What matters is they won't attack again. The Galactic Council has requested you attend an emergency session, Han continued. They want to hear directly from you about the colony's defensive capabilities. Park groaned. I hate council meetings. They spend hours talking and never actually decide anything useful. Earth's ambassador says it's important. The council is worried. A lot of species are reconsidering their assumptions about human colonies now. 2. Good. Let them reconsider. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking any of our settlements. Later that day, Park made time to walk through the colony. It had been 3 days since the battle. Already, most of the damage was repaired. The crash sites had been cleared. The fields were being replanted. Children were back in school. Life was returning to normal. Except it would never be quite normal again. The secret was out. Farmer Kim was supervising the repair of his irrigation system when Park found him. The big man was covered in mud, but looked satisfied with the progress. "Governor, come to check on the work? Just wanted to see how things were going," Park replied. "Oh, sure. We lost maybe 5% of this season's crop. That's nothing. We've got backup supplies. Nobody will go hungry." Kim wiped his hands on a rag. "Though I have to say, I'm getting tired of reporters asking for interviews." Park laughed. "You too? I've had 27 interview requests since yesterday. From species I've never even heard of. What are you telling them?" "The truth. That we're a farming colony. That we want to be left in peace. That we'll defend ourselves if necessary." Park looked across the fields. "What we've always been." Kim nodded thoughtfully. "The galaxy thought humans were soft. Because we talk about peace and cooperation. Because we trade instead of conquer. They mistook kindness for weakness. They won't make that mistake again," Park said quietly. In the medical clinic, Dr. Choi was showing 2 Kreth prisoners how to assist with basic medical tasks. The prisoners had asked if they could help while they waited for transport back to their government. Choi had agreed immediately. One of them, the young female warrior whose arm Choi had set, was learning how to change bandages. She worked carefully. Her 3-fingered hands, gentle despite their size and strength. "You are different from what we were taught," the Kreth said quietly. "Our instructors said humans were weak and emotional. That you valued comfort over strength." Choi smiled. "We are emotional. And we do value comfort. Those aren't weaknesses. They're what we fight to protect. We defend ourselves so we can continue being comfortable and emotional. Does that make sense?" The Kreth thought about it. "I think so. You fight so you do not have to fight?" "Exactly. We're good at violence because we hate violence. We want to live in peace, so we make sure we're too dangerous to attack." Choi finished demonstrating the bandaging technique. "Now you try on this practice dummy." The Kreth warrior carefully mimicked Choi's movements. Her large hands were surprisingly gentle. "If I survive to return home, I will tell others what I learned here. That humans are not weak, and that mercy can be a kind of strength." Commander Vex's Thor was also learning this lesson. Park had given him limited freedom to move around the secured area. The Kreth commander used this privilege to observe the colony and its people. What he saw confused him more every day. He watched Farmer Kim laugh with his crew while repairing equipment. He saw Teacher Lee patiently explaining mathematics to children who had lived through a battle just days before. He observed colonists gathering for a community meal, sharing food and stories like nothing unusual had happened. These were the same people who had destroyed his fleet. The same farmers who had fought with terrifying efficiency. But now, they were just living, growing food, teaching children, building homes. They had gone from deadly warriors to peaceful civilians as easily as changing clothes. One evening, Park invited Vex Thor to join him for dinner. They sat on the porch of Park's residence, eating simple food and watching the sunset. "I have been thinking," Vex Thor said carefully, "about what you said, that you hide your strength to protect weaker colonies. This is a strange strategy." "Is it?" Park asked. "You're a military commander. Haven't you ever used deception in battle?" "Oh, way. Of course. Deception is a valid tactic. Then why is it strange that Earth would use deception on a larger scale? We make some colonies look weak so enemies attack us instead of attacking actual civilians. Those civilians get to live in real peace. And people who attack our weak colonies learn a valuable lesson." Vex Thor was quiet for a moment. "How many colonies like New Sejong does Earth have?" Park smiled but didn't answer directly. Enough. Let's just say we've thought carefully about frontier defense. So any human colony might be a trap? Or it might be exactly what it looks like. A simple farming community with no hidden defenses. An honest, civilian settlement. Park's smile widened slightly. The only way to find out is to attack. And if you're wrong, well, you've seen what happens. Vex Thor felt a chill run through his body. It was brilliant and terrifying. Earth had made it impossible to know which colonies were vulnerable and which were deadly. Any attacker would have to assume every human settlement might be another New Sejong. The uncertainty alone would prevent most attacks. Your species thinks differently than ours, Vex Thor admitted. Kreth value obvious strength. We display our military might so others will fear us. Humans do the opposite. You hide your strength and appear weak. Both strategies have value, Park said diplomatically. But humans learned long ago that appearing weak has advantages. People underestimate you. They don't see you as a threat. Then when you reveal your true capabilities, it's too late for them to adapt. Over the next few days, more galactic responses arrived. The Galactic Council officially condemned the Kreth attack. Several species sent diplomatic messages to Earth, requesting information about colony defenses. 3 different governments asked if Earth would be willing to share defensive strategies. Earth's response was polite but firm. Human defensive capabilities were not for sale or sharing. But Earth would be happy to sign mutual defense pacts with peaceful species. The message was clear. Be friendly with humanity or leave human space alone. There was no third option anymore. Park received a personal message from Earth's Defense Command. Admiral Torres appeared on his screen, looking pleased. Governor, I wanted to inform you personally. New Sejong is being recognized for exceptional service to Earth security. You and your entire colony are receiving commendations. Also, your budget request for new farming equipment has been approved. All of it. Park laughed. We asked for new farming equipment 3 years ago. It took a war to get it approved? Torres grinned. Bureaucracy works in mysterious ways. But seriously, Governor, you've done something important here. The entire sector is going to think twice before attacking human settlements now. That makes everyone safer. Not just New Sejong, but every colony in human space. After the call ended, Park went to find his senior staff. They gathered in the conference room, the same room where so much had been planned and decided. Earth is sending us new equipment, Park announced. Real farming equipment this time. Top of the line. They're also sending additional supplies and a commendation for the entire colony. Do we get to keep the weapons? Engineer Han asked practically. Oh yes. The defenses stay exactly as they are. We're still a frontier guard post. Still the first line of defense. But at least now, we can have good farming equipment while we do it. Teacher Lee raised her cup of tea in a toast. To New Sejong. The colony that changed the galaxy's mind about humanity. To New Sejong, the others echoed. That night, Park stood outside and looked up at the stars. Up there, in ships and stations across dozens of worlds, people were talking about this little colony. Some with respect, some with fear, some with anger. But all of them were talking. The message had been sent and received. Earth's colonies were not easy targets. Human farmers were not helpless civilians. And humanity's preference for peace should never be mistaken for inability to fight. New Sejong had shown the galaxy something important. That humans didn't need massive fleets or obvious military might to be dangerous. They just needed determination, creativity, and the willingness to defend what was theirs. The Kreth had learned that lesson in 10 minutes. Now the entire galaxy was learning it too. And Park hoped, truly hoped, that it would make the frontier safer for everyone. That fewer colonies would be attacked. That more people, human and alien alike, could live in peace. Because that was what New Sejong had always been about. Not war, not conquest. Just the simple desire to farm and build and raise families in peace. The weapons were only tools to protect that peace. And if the galaxy finally understood that, then maybe the battle had been worth it after all. In his secured quarters, Commander Vex Thor was composing another message to his government. This one was longer and more detailed. A complete report on human defensive psychology and strategy. He wanted to make sure his people understood that they would never again make the mistake of underestimating humanity. He ended the message with a simple sentence. The humans are not our enemies, but they will never be our victims either. We must choose our path carefully. Unride. Fortin 23-1. The galaxy was listening now. And that made all the difference. 3 weeks after the battle, Governor Park stood before the Galactic Council. The council chamber was a massive dome filled with representatives from 47 different species. Each had their own communication booth arranged in a circle around the central platform where Park stood. It reminded him of a courtroom, or an arena. Earth's ambassador, Han Jae-sung, stood beside him. The ambassador was an older man, with gray hair and a calm, diplomatic manner. He had whispered advice to Park before they entered. Just tell them the truth. Don't apologize. Don't threaten. Just explain. The council speaker, a tall insectoid being from the Trill species, activated the translation system. Governor Park Min-ho, of New Sejong Colony. This council has called you to explain the events of what is being called the 10-minute war. Many species are concerned. Some are frightened. We need to understand what happened and what it means for galactic security. Park took a deep breath. He had faced enemy soldiers. He had made decisions that cost lives. But standing here, being watched by representatives of dozens of worlds, was somehow more intimidating. Thank you, Council Speaker. Park began. I will tell you exactly what happened and why. New Sejong is a farming colony on the frontier of human space. We grow crops. We raise families. We teach our children. We are, in every meaningful way, a civilian settlement. But our colony also serves another purpose. We are a defensive position. Earth established New Sejong knowing it might be attacked. We were prepared for that possibility. A representative from the Bex Consortium interrupted. You deceived the entire sector. Your colony appeared defenseless. This is a violation of honest communication protocols. Ambassador Han stepped forward smoothly. With respect, Counselor, there is no galactic law requiring colonies to advertise their defensive capabilities. New Sejong broke no rules. We simply chose not to announce that we could defend ourselves. But why? This from a Velen representative, a peaceful species known for their diplomatic nature. Why hide your strength? Would it not prevent attacks if potential enemies knew the truth? Park nodded. That's a fair question. Let me answer with another question. If New Sejong had looked strong and well defended, would the Kreeth have attacked us? Probably not, the Velen admitted. And if the Kreeth hadn't attacked us, where would they have gone instead? Which colony would they have targeted? One that actually is defenseless. A settlement full of real civilians with no military training. People who would have been killed or enslaved. Park, let that sink in. New Sejong looks weak so that actual weak colonies don't become targets. We draw the predators to us, instead of to them. The council chamber fell silent. Several representatives were communicating privately with their governments. Others were clearly reconsidering their assumptions. We are bait, Park continued. But we are bait with teeth. Any species that attacks human colonies thinking we are easy prey will find out the hard way that we are not. And hopefully, after 1 or 2 painful lessons, they will stop attacking entirely. That makes everyone safer. Not just humans, but all peaceful species in this sector. The Trill speaker leaned forward. Governor Park, This council understands defensive measures. But your colony's response was extremely efficient. Almost too efficient. How many of your colonists are actually retired military? Park smiled slightly. Most of them. New Sejong was established specifically for veterans who wanted to retire somewhere peaceful. They earned that peace through years of service. They deserve to live quietly and farm and raise children. The fact that they can still fight if necessary doesn't change that. But this means any human colony might be full of hidden warriors, a nervous representative from the court clans said. How are we supposed to know which colonies are dangerous? You're not, Ambassador Han said bluntly. That's the point. If you don't know which colonies are defended, you can't safely attack any of them. So, the logical choice is simple. Don't attack human colonies at all. Trade with us. Talk with us. Be neighbors with us. But don't attack us. Another representative spoke up. This seems threatening. Are you saying humanity will destroy anyone who acts against you? Park shook his head firmly. No. We're saying we will defend ourselves. There's a difference. The Kreeth attacked us. We defended our home. We didn't pursue them. We didn't invade their territory. We didn't demand reparations. We stopped the attack, secured the prisoners, and went back to farming. All we want is to be left in peace. Then why maintain such strong defenses? The court representative persisted. Park felt a flash of frustration but kept his voice calm. Because wanting peace and being unprepared are not the same thing. My people have seen war. Many of us have lost friends and family to violence. We know what war costs. That's exactly why we prepare to defend ourselves. Because we never want to be helpless victims again. We want to live in peace, and the best way to maintain peace is to be too dangerous to attack. The Velen representative spoke again, more thoughtfully this time. Governor Park, I think I begin to understand. Your species has a saying, yes? About fearing the quiet ones? Several sayings like that, Park confirmed. Beware of the old man in a profession where men die young. The quiet ones are the ones to watch. Still, waters run deep. We have learned through hard experience that looking peaceful is different from being harmless. Your people are warriors pretending to be farmers, the Trill speaker observed. No, Park corrected gently. We are farmers who used to be warriors. There's a difference. We chose to farm. We want to farm. But we haven't forgotten our training. And if someone forces us to fight, we will. Then we'll go back to farming. Over the next hour, the council asked many questions. About human defensive strategy, about how many colonies were like New Sejong, about Earth's intentions in the sector. Park and Ambassador Han answered honestly but carefully. They gave enough information to be believable, but not enough to compromise security. Finally, the council speaker called for a vote on a resolution. It was simple and direct. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity's right to defend its colonies. They condemned the Kreeth attack, and they encouraged all species to pursue peaceful relations with human settlements. The vote was unanimous. After the session ended, Park and Ambassador Han walked through the council station's observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see dozens of ships from various species, the galaxy's diversity on display. You did well, Governor, Han said. Better than I expected. Honestly. You're not a politician, but you understood the real game. It wasn't about explaining the battle. It was about managing fear. Fear? Park looked at him questioningly. The council was afraid, Han explained. Afraid of what humanity might do. Afraid we might be more dangerous than they realized. Afraid their military assessments of human strength were completely wrong. You calmed those fears, while also making it clear that attacking us is a bad idea. That's diplomacy. Park smiled tiredly. I prefer farming. Diplomacy is exhausting. Then you'll be happy to know you can go home soon. Earth is sending the transport for the Kreeth prisoners tomorrow. After that, New Sejong can go back to normal. or as normal as things get for you. That evening, Park had a final meeting with Commander Vex Thor. The Kreth commander would be leaving on the transport. This would probably be the last time they spoke. They met in the same conference room where they had first talked after the battle. Park had tea waiting again. This time, Vex Thor drank it without hesitation. "I leave tomorrow," Vex Thor said. "I wanted to thank you before I go." "Thank me?" Park was surprised. "For defeating you? For sparing me? For treating my warriors with dignity? For showing mercy when you could have simply killed us all?" Vex Thor's 4 eyes met Park's gaze directly. "My people value strength. We thought humans were weak because you talk about peace and cooperation. We were wrong. You showed me that mercy can be a form of strength. That choosing not to kill when you have the power to do so is harder than simple violence." Park nodded slowly. "War is easy, Commander. Any fool can start a war. Peace is hard. It requires wisdom and patience and the willingness to see your enemies as people. My species learned that lesson the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we figured it out." "The Kreth have not learned this lesson yet," Vex Thor admitted. "We are young compared to humans. Our empire is only 3 centuries old. We believe conquest brings glory. It doesn't," Park said quietly. "Conquest only brings more enemies and more wars. Real glory comes from building things. From creating instead of destroying. From leaving the galaxy better than you found it." Vex Thor was quiet for a long moment. "When I return home, I will be questioned, possibly punished for my failure. But I will tell my government the truth. That humans are not our enemies, but they will never be our victims either. That we must choose a different path if we want to survive in this sector." "I hope they listen," Park said sincerely. "I don't want to fight the Kreth again. I would rather trade with you. Learn from you. Maybe even become friends eventually. But that's your choice to make." They stood and performed their respective gestures of respect. Vex Thor's was a complex motion with all 4 hands. Park's was a simple bow. Different species, different customs. But maybe, Park thought, some understanding had been reached. The next day, the transport arrived. 2,000 Kreth prisoners were loaded onto the ship. They were healthy and well treated. Many of them looked confused. A few looked grateful. They had expected death or torture. Instead, they had received medical care and decent food and respect. Dr. Choi came to see them off. Several Kreth warriors approached her to express thanks. The young female, whose arm she had set, gave Choi a small, carved stone. A traditional Kreth token of respect. "You changed my understanding of your species," the warrior said simply. "I will remember." As the transport departed, Park stood with his senior staff and watched it rise into the sky. Engineer Han noticed Park's sad expression. "You okay, Governor?" "Just thinking," Park replied. "We won the battle. We protected the colony. We even changed some minds about humanity. But I still hate that it was necessary. I hate that people died. I hate that we had to fight at all." "That's what makes you a good leader," Teacher Lee said gently. "You haven't forgotten that war is terrible. Some commanders start to enjoy it. Start to see enemies as targets instead of people. You never lost your empathy." "Empathy," Park repeated. "Maybe that's humanity's real weakness. We care too much. We feel too much. Even about our enemies," Farmer Kim laughed. "If that's a weakness, I'm happy to have it. I'd rather care too much than become cold and heartless. Our empathy is what makes us human." They walked back to the administration building together. Around them, the colony was fully recovered. The fields were green and growing. Children played in the schoolyard. The sounds of construction and conversation filled the air. Life had returned to normal. That afternoon, Park wrote his final report to Earth Defense Command. He detailed the battle and the aftermath. He included observations about Kreth tactics and psychology. He provided recommendations for future defensive strategies. But he ended the report with a personal note. New Sejong has performed its function successfully. We defended ourselves and sent a message to the galaxy. But I want to be clear about something. My colonists did not come here to be warriors. They came here to build lives, to farm and raise families and be part of a community. The fact that they can still fight when necessary does not mean they want to. I request that Earth continue to pursue peaceful relations with all species. War should always be our last option, not our first response. We proved we can win battles. Now let's prove we can win peace. 3 months later, Park stood in his fields at harvest time. The crops had grown beautifully. It would be a good year. Around him, colonists worked together to bring in the harvest. They laughed and talked and helped each other. This was what they had fought to protect. Not land or resources or political power. Just the simple right to live peaceful lives. A ship appeared in the sky. Park tensed automatically, then relaxed as he recognized it. An Earth transport, bringing supplies and new colonists. People who had heard about New Sejong and wanted to be part of something special. Veterans looking for peace. Families seeking opportunity. Park smiled. The galaxy knew the truth about New Sejong now. But people still wanted to come here. Not because it was safe, not because it was easy, but because it was a community that valued both strength and kindness. A place where you could be a farmer and a defender, a teacher and a warrior, a doctor and a protector. A place where humans could be completely, honestly, themselves. Peaceful when possible. Fierce when necessary. Always adaptable. Always resilient. Always ready to do whatever it took to protect the things they loved. That evening, Park sat on his porch and watched the sunset. He thought about Commander Vexy's Thor, and wondered if the Kreeth commander had successfully shared his message. He thought about the Galactic Council, and hoped they understood humanity better now. He thought about all the colonists who had fought beside him, and gone back to their normal lives, without complaint. Mostly, he thought about the future. About harvests to come and children to teach and lives to build. About the simple, profound satisfaction of creating something good in a vast and often dangerous galaxy. New Sejong had shown the galaxy that humans were not easy prey. But more importantly, they had shown that humans were worth knowing, worth trading with, worth respecting. Not because of their weapons, but because of their character. Because they could be fierce and gentle, strong and kind, prepared for war but devoted to peace. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth's colonies were not targets. They were neighbors. And that made all the difference. Park finished his tea and went inside. Tomorrow there would be more work to do. Fields to tend, equipment to maintain, reports to file, children to teach, homes to build, all the simple, important tasks of daily life. The things worth fighting for, the things worth protecting, the things that made humanity special. Not their weapons, or their tactics, or their defensive strategies, but their refusal to give up. Their determination to build instead of destroy. Their ability to show mercy, even in victory. Their choice to farm when they could have conquered. That was humanity's real strength, and no enemy would ever take it away.